Lesson 28, Other Legacy Loops. Well, VBA supports other loops other than the 4 next loops. So if you've learned any old programming languages like Pascal, you might have run into do loops or the while and when loop. And we'll take a look at these so you can understand the various options available to you, and also so you can understand them in case you encounter them in someone else's code. Let's get started. Okay, so I have a really simple macro here that basically goes through and formats this line. It does some checks. If the line is greater than 500, it writes a bell ringer out here in column F and moves the value over to G. If it's a really small order, it makes the font italics and puts the word accessory. I have this set up so that way I can run it just by pressing Control F. And the Control F macro goes ahead and it goes down to the next row each time. So, I could just sit here and run Control F repeatedly, but it's a hassle to hold down Control F. And so another thing we can do is put this in just the most simple loop there is. It's called a do loop. We say do, and then we run the macro, fix one, and then loop. All right, now this is just as simple as you get. It's going to run that macro forever. And we're going to have to know how to break the macro. That means how to stop the macro while it's running. We're going to visually see over there on the left-hand side. Once we get down below the end of the data, we're going to hit Control Break. So I start here. I run my macro called do loop, click Run, and as soon as I get down below the end of the data set, I hit Control Break, I hit End, and we're good. Computers are so fast. Well, I got thousands of rows below the end of my data before I could even react and hit Control Break. So there must be a better way to get out of that loop. Let me delete those extra rows. And so let's talk about that. I'll go on to another worksheet here where we have the original data set again. And to do a do loop with exit, we can say fix one, and then if selection dot value is less than a space, then exit do. We say exit the do. That means exit the loop. And so basically this will run, and when it sees that we get to a blank cell in column A, then it will stop running. So let's try that. Macros do loop with exit. Click Run. Very nice. It stops when it gets down to the end of the data set. And so that's kind of having a bit of flow control there in the middle that looks for it. There's a couple of varieties of these do loops. There's something called do while. Sounds like an old 50s song, the doo-wop loop. We'll say do while, and that's where we modify the do statement when we say do while selection dot value is greater than a space. And then we don't have to worry about stopping it with the if statement inside the do while loop. So we'll try that here. I'll select the first record, macros, do while, click Run, and as soon as it gets down to the space, it stops. There's also where we loop until. Very similar concept. So in the do while, we're doing the check at the beginning of the loop. If you always want to make sure that you run the loop at least once, then we can loop until selection dot value is less than a space. So we'll call this loop until. All right, we'll test this one. Choose cell A2 and we'll run the loop until. And so a couple of different options there with the do loops. The while and when, this is a very much a legacy loop. In Excel help, they even tell you not to use this. But you'll occasionally see someone who might have written this code. So just so you kind of understand it, we replace the word do with while, and then replace the word loop with when. So it's a while when. In the while, you have to put the condition while selection dot value is greater than a space. fix one. So while and when is just another loop construct that you'll see occasionally. This is good for, if we're reading a text file. The text file, we don't know how many records we're going to get. So we can't set up a loop that says for I equals 2 to final row. We can't figure out where the final row is. Then we just want to keep running records until we get to an end of file or something like that. So you'll occasionally see these various legacy loop constructs, the do loop or the do loop with an exit, do while, do loop until, or while and when. Don't be worried when you find those. They're very similar to the for next loop. Personally, I use for next almost all the time. However, if you're using code that other people have written, you're going to encounter these loops. So I wanted you to be familiar with them so you can understand what's going on with those loops. Now in the next lesson, we're going to take a look at something that's not a legacy loop, but it's a new loop that's specific to object-oriented languages such as VBA. It's called the for each loop. For each is very, very powerful and something that we'll use a lot of times in Excel to look at all worksheets, all cells, all whatever. Very powerful loop. So thanks for watching this lesson. I hope you found this helpful.
Looking to advance your career by acquiring new skills? Tired of expensive off-site training programs? Wish you could learn from the best instructors in the industry? Look no further than live lessons. Self-paced, personal video instruction by the world's leading technology publishers. Each live lesson comes with a DVD featuring 3 to 4 hours of instructor-led classroom training, sample program code that allows you to work along with your personal instructor, and an example-rich study guide. Live lessons allow you to watch the entire course from start to finish, or navigate directly to any of the individual lessons. You'll literally watch over the shoulder of your instructor as he shows you how to build state-of-the-art applications. Live lessons, the power of the world's leading technology experts at your fingertips. To learn more, visit mylivelessons.com today.